In Module 4 of course 1300, we discuss functions. So let's first go and talk about functions in general and see what they are. And then we learn how to call a function and how to create it. And of course at the end we have a practice. Functions are very similar to the sub-procedures, but they're returning a value back to you. You have already worked with some of the built-in functions, such as message box or input box. Message box was waiting for your interaction with the message box itself and was returning the value of the button that you have entered. In the case of input box, it was asking you to enter a value and was returning a value back to you. So in this section of the course, we learn how to create our own functions. I've already demonstrated some of the built-in functions for you. You have already done some of them in validation chapter, like is numeric, is null, is date, and so forth. Those are another examples of built-in functions. Now learn how to create your own custom functions. We start this specific section of the course by watching this particular video. I invite you to watch this particular demonstration from your mastering CD, so please pay attention. So as you saw in that demonstration, you could basically call a function within another sub-procedure or another function. So in order to call a function, all you have to do is specify the name followed by an argument that you need to pass to it. In this example, you're calling a built-in function called date. That will return a value of today's date. Or in the case of conversion to an uppercase, you can call uCase, which is another built-in function. Or function like left or right, and many other functions that we talked about. I've already demonstrated in previous demonstrations that you could use a variable in order to store a result coming out of an input box. Or you could check the value by calling the isNull value or isNull function in order to see if the value is empty. So based on that, you could make sure that you're retrieving a specific value. Let's go and demonstrate how to take advantage of functions in this demonstration. I click on form and I design my own form, brand new form. Let's go ahead and place a couple of text boxes in here. And basically a button in here. But I'm not going to use the wizard for that. Part of the text, I'd like to go ahead and specify number 1. And of course number 2. And basically the text itself, it could get the information from the user, and within the button I'd like to do some arithmetic operation, like for example add. Let's go ahead and set some of the values in here. I call this command button to be cmd add. I name the button txt0 to be txt num1, and of course txt2 to be txt num2. Now let's go and add an event handler for the onClick event on this button. So what I'd like to do, I'd like to go first create a function called add. In this scenario, I start the function by calling the function keyword. And I call it add. And I want to retrieve two different parameters or arguments into it. I call it x as type double, y as type double, just name them. And of course the function should return a value back to me. The entire function will return a value back as type double, for example. In here, all I like to do, I call the function name again, and I say is equal to x plus y. So basically, in order to set the value of an add, which is basically a type of double, the return value of it would be the equivalent of the addition of those two particular arguments that I'm passing. By the time I'm clicking on an add button, I like to actually place this information within a variable and show that variable in a message box. So let's go and declare a variable. I call it my variable as type double. And basically, my variable is going to be equal to add function. As you see, automatically, VBA knows how many arguments I have to pass. So basically, I can pass the txt num1 the text value of it, comma, txt num2 the text value of it as well. But just in case you didn't know, the value of a text is a string. VBA automatically converts it, but basically as a good programming steps is you have to explicitly convert them, just in case you won't lose any data. So in order to convert the string value into a double, I use another function called cdouble, which passes a string value to it and converts that particular string into a double. So I go with cdouble and enclose that text within that particular function. So what I do, I convert this string value into a double, and I pass it as the first argument, and I convert the second text into a double, and I pass it as a second argument. Combine them together, add them up, returns the value back as an add, and I store it within my variable. So let's go ahead and put a message box. Let's make it a little bit more creative. I can go ahead and say the value of concatenated with basically text number 1, the text, and then go to the next line. If you remember, we have talked about line continuation, and we say plus sign the value, or actually we can make it even nicer. Let's go ahead and say the value of this plus the value of, for example, text number 2, the text, is going to be, is equal, for example, to, and then we could specify my var. So what I like to do now, I like to show a text, show the actual value I've entered, show another text, show the second value I've entered, and then show the result. Let's go and run this. Basically, by saving this particular form, I call it, for example, calculate. Now if I switch back here and show it within the form, I enter a value of 2.5, the second number as 4.3, for example. If I click add, well, of course, there's a problem. Let's go fix it. It says you can't reference a property or method for a control unless the control has a focus on. So let's go debug it. As you see right now, it doesn't understand what is the text num. So in order to fix this problem, I have to provide that a specific control by using the object reference as I have explained it before. We change the text to be a value because the value of the field is important. So now if I continue, let's end this and restart the form again. It basically comes in here. And of course I have to do the same thing here. I have to put value. And continue. And as you see, it says the value of 2.5 plus the value of 4.3 is equal to 5. Well, basically that's not right. Let's go check it out. As you see, I've repeated text num1 twice. So that was the logical error. Now, using the debugging tools, you can see that I got the correct answer. So I went a little bit ahead of the game and explained also the debugging. And you realize when you're creating a program on the fly, there might be some errors. Using the debugging tools, you can actually fix the errors, find where they are, and take adequate action for it. So in this demonstration, you saw how to create a function, how to call the function, how to use built-in functions, how to use custom functions, and how to retrieve a function value.